Wall Street wants this house. Talk to the president.
So, why should Wall Street be able to outbid American families for home ownership? I think that's a problem. It's a serious question that needs to be discussed. Frankly, I think it's unethical. I think it's problematic. And low key, you guys, I think it's absolutely retarded. Welcome back to Archie's Briefings, you guys. I'm your host, Arshel Branch. Now, of course, before we dive into this conversation, take the time to subscribe to the channel of either Pocket Politics or if you're watching on Moral Finance, of course, subscribe to that channel as well. Like this video, share this video, and of course, you guys get into the comment sections because I want this to be a conversation. I want us to be able to share ideas, peer review ideas, talk about whether or not we like it, don't like it, if we like this person, don't like this person who is bringing forward ideas. So it's really important that you guys get into the comment sections. Otherwise, I'm just talking for the sake of talking, which you guys know I can do. Okay, let's go ahead and let's talk about this. So, big question, like I said earlier. Why should Wall Street be able to outbid American families? Now, why that question? Why do I put it that way? Well, you guys, Orange Man, gotta love the Orange Man, okay? He wants to ban Wall Street from purchasing single family homes. Of course, you have your critics, some I really just can't stand. I won't name names here. Okay, Ben Shapiro. You guys know I don't like that guy. I really can't stand him. Now, of course, even though I don't like this guy, I won't go so far into why I don't like him. I'm just going to say this. I do think he did bring up some legitimate concerns, specifically when you're talking about like long term investments, right? 401ks, pensions, mutual funds, life insurance policies. I do talk about how it is important to invest into those things, but it does beg the question to determine whether or not our investment systems are ethical at all. Like, I do think these are questions that really get asked when you come back to this one theory, this one thing, not even theory, but this one thing of Wall Street purchasing single family homes and Americans being forced to compete with big money. And I just don't think that's fair. BlackRock being one of the big ones, I find them to be problematic in and of itself, but they are purchasing homes. And this obviously adds to the value of long term investment funds like pensions, 401ks, etc. Now, let's just talk about this idea of banning them from purchasing. First off, this does great, I think, both for Republicans and Democrats. Obviously, you guys saw the response. Maybe you didn't see the response. Chuck Schumer said that the Democrats did try to get this passed last year, but the Republicans stopped them. I'm not going to play the game of politics, why it happened or didn't happen. I'll let you guys decide why that is the case, which tells me that both sides, at the very least, are saying, I would say accurately, I think that's accurate. They are saying that they support this idea, preventing corporate landlords. I think that's something. Now, let me clarify, this does not mean that it gets rid of small landlords. It doesn't get rid of rental opportunities. Okay. This is one of the arguments that some of the critics are making, that it's going to get rid of the opportunity to rent houses, that it's going to get rid of small landlords who want to just like buy a house and lease that house out to a small American family. Like, yeah, no, that's not going away anytime soon. This is specifically targeting Wall Street and big money. And I think that is necessary because let's just talk about the opportunity. If they buy these homes, and one of the criticisms that Ben Shapiro said, and he's not obviously the only one. There are economists who are saying the same thing, that if you do this, that it's going to prevent opportunity for the small landlords. That's not true. And that, of course, this was going to hurt the pensions, and ultimately, it does nothing because the big business, the big money, doesn't actually own that much. They only own a small percentage of single family homes. Yeah, but they own a lot of that small percentage in some states, in some cities, which do make it that much more difficult for those who live in said cities and said states to actually purchase homes. And that's really where the problem comes in. Like, it doesn't really matter if they only own a small percentage when you're the one, as the American individual, as the Main Street consumer, trying to buy the home, and you're the one competing with Wall Street. Yeah, no, sorry, Ben. Sorry, critics who are the economists and the experts. Saying that they only own a small percentage of the single family homes in America really doesn't do anything for me. You guys, it falls on deaf ears. It's like glass eyes for me. I'll tell you why. Because it's like hearing, well, if you make $30,000 in a year, then you're actually the top 1% earners in the world. Yeah, that means nothing because 30%, $30,000 a year doesn't get you very far in America. What the heck difference do I make if it makes me the top 1% in the world if I can't pay a mortgage with that? So yeah, nah, telling me that big business, that Wall Street and big money only own a small percentage of this property doesn't really do me any good. Doesn't really do me any favors. Doesn't make me feel good about myself. I don't think any Main Street future homeowner feel good about themselves when they are the ones who have to compete with algorithmic bidding. Okay, cash offers, and they are able to move in a way that is so fast that they don't even have the time to compete, trying to get the money up, trying to actually seem appealing to people who are selling their homes. And those who are selling their homes, well, guess what? They just want to be outies. They just want to be out. Okay. Now, President Trump said this, and the stock market reacted in a negative way. The stock market was obviously impacted by this. And of course, this is where the concern came in. This is why the critics are saying this is going to do us harm and all the rest of it. But here's the thing, you guys, I don't think that Main Street has to lose in order for those investors to win. Because that's where we start asking the question about ethics. Okay. This is a question of how this is going to impact these lifelong investments, which, of course, I'm someone who says you should talk about mutual funds. You should look into these things. You should look into Roth IRAs and 401ks, pension plans. You should definitely look into your life insurance policies. Think about getting them, especially if you are a young person, because, your premium rates are going to be incredibly low because you're young. That's something to take into consideration. You might even get a policy that's less than $100 because you are young. Just throwing that out there. And you're like, Rochelle, how are you throwing that out there? And you're just saying that it's not even going to be that much. It's not even going to be that secure. It may not be. Listen, my whole thing here is I do think it's important for us to invest into these things. At the same time, it does beg the question, is the investment system that we have in America actually ethical? Because if you're saying that the only way for pensions and 401ks, etc., to earn and be profitable here is that we have to bet against Main Street consumers, and that we have to bet against the everyday American, hardworking American from having ownership? Like, is that what you're saying? That in order for my retirement fund to do well, I have to bet against my fellow American citizen. And I don't think that's something that we have to do here. And I find that to be dramatically unethical. Frankly, I think that if Wall Street money was, focusing in on building housing and not buying up the scarcity, this might do something here. Okay. Now, I don't believe that this is a perfect idea. It's not obviously going to dramatically change the affordability crisis. It's not going to just flip it on its head tomorrow and all of a sudden houses are going to be affordable. Obviously, we do have to add more supply to our marketplace. We need to be able to build more houses. I believe Charlie Kirk, the late, great Charlie Kirk, said we needed to build over, I want to say he said over 100,000 houses. I want to say that's what he said. But you guys get in the comment section to let me know if you remember specifically what the number was that Charlie said that we needed to build. But essentially, if that we were able to limit the competition to, I don't know, your neighbors, to everyday Main Street American citizens who work hard, bust their behinds to try to achieve the American dream of home ownership, then I think that's fair. It is fair for you to compete with someone who might have a bigger offer, but that's because you're dealing with an American citizen who might have saved more. Maybe they have collateral. Maybe they saved their down payment and didn't go and get that from the banks. Maybe they have a better credit score. Maybe they have something that's better. Maybe they have a better job, right? Maybe there's something about your neighbor, that fellow American who is just an everyday American, just like you, not big money, not coming from Wall Street, just another everyday, average, hardworking American family whose numbers might have been better. That's fair. I think that's okay. But to be competing with algorithmic, bidding and cash offers that are just unbelievably large, that's insane. And you guys, you'll ask, I have people in my comment sections asking me, like, how does this affect you, Arshel? Like, I'm not in the position of buying a home. I've got some time before that actually is going to be an opportunity for me. You guys know I'm trying to increase my numbers. Obviously, you guys know this about me. And so I'm not there yet. But I do know people who've had this situation. Like, I've had people who live and rent a house who are in who are looking for the opportunity of buying the home, and they are forced to compete for owning this home with big money. The offer on the table coming from the big money, you guys, is over $1 million. And the woman who owns the home is thinking about kicking her tenant out of that house, doesn't want her to have the house because she's interested in getting the cash offer of over $1 million. Now, why should the tenant living there be forced to compete with that? Now, she's fighting hard, which is all the more reason why I do want the president to, get this passed into legislation. I would love for this to be an executive order and then pass into legislation, because it would mean that the woman living in said house would not have to worry about competing with Wall Street, because that's what's happening. That's what she's dealing with right now. So this isn't so much that it's not impactful. It actually is. Now, it may not do much about making, more supply available right away, but it might protect people who are already in the position of competing with big money. It might actually encourage Wall Street to look for other ways to increase the revenue and the earnings, not revenue, excuse me, the earnings of these long-term investments, maybe even have them refocus where that investment money goes. So again, like I said, instead of having this go against Main Street consumers, we're looking to have the American dream, which a part of that is home ownership. Home ownership is a wealth building opportunity. Most Americans want to use their homes to add to their net worth, okay? And Wall Street's taking that away from them. This idea, this bill, if it does go through the legislation, this executive order, if he passes it via the executive order, this does mean you won't be competing with the algorithm, with big cash offers that you just can't even combine. You can't even think of trying to compete with. Like again, like I said, I know people who are in this very situation who would benefit from this bill, who would benefit from this executive order, who would have the ability to hold on to this home that they are living in because they no longer have to worry about losing out on home ownership to Wall Street, because that's not fair at all. Like it's just like I said, you guys, it's an unethical practice. And again, like I said, I don't think that this policy in and of itself is going to solve all of our problems. Heck, and maybe it's not even going to stop Wall Street from being succubus. Like it's just not going to stop them. It's not. They're not going to stop being the succubi that they are. But hey, maybe, with a policy or two, you might actually be able to get them to do that. Because like I said, if Wall Street investment was focusing on building up homes instead of buying up the scarcity, then we would actually have a value in America where houses are being built, investors, pensions and 401ks and mutual funds, etc., are able to earn tremendously. Okay. And that's something that we should consider. If profit requires people to lose access to opportunity, that's not innovation. Okay. That's exploitation. In my opinion. And I think that's something that needs to be seriously addressed. Now, of course, you guys are thinking, Arshel, this started off with President Trump banning big Wall Street, big money from purchasing homes. How did we get into insurance and life insurance policies? Because these things are going to be affected by these decisions, by that particular policy. And the beautiful thing here is that, you guys, there is bipartisanship here. Whether or not they work together to get it done, that's another conversation for another day. But as from what I've seen, both people on the left and the right are in complete agreement here that Wall Street should not be a major competitor for home ownership. Owning a home is a wealth building opportunity that Americans look forward to. Owning a home is a huge part of the American dream. It's what people look for, it's what they want, and it's what families be trying to get. And they have a hard time getting it because they can't find the opportunity with Wall Street. And to the critics who say that Wall Street only owns a small percentage, that statement means absolutely nothing to the people who actually have to compete with cash offers and algorithm biddings. Like that's just retarded. Like I don't understand why you thought that was an argument. So people, I don't even think I don't even understand why you thought that was a real argument, a legitimate argument. Don't sit here and tell me that if you make $30,000 a year, you are the top 1% in the globe. It means nothing to me. Nothing. What can I do with that in my own home country? Don't tell me that because they only own a small percentage that doesn't mean nothing. It like that means something to us. It means nothing when you are the American who has to compete with their offers. Because again, like I said, I know people who are in this circumstance who are forced to compete with Wall Street. A bill like this would protect a Black woman living in a home right now who wants to have ownership for her and her kids and is competing with big money. And how can she possibly compete with over $1 million offer from Wall Street? She can compete with that. She can't compete with that. Like, yo, you think that's fair, Ben Shapiro? You think that's fair, economist? And to your notions that this is going to prevent small landlords, no, it wasn't. No, it's not. That's just not true, at least according to the president. He's not trying to target them specifically. He actually wants to make sure that that is still an opportunity. And he also wants to make sure that investments still have the ability to earn. We understand that both sides are in agreement with this, so there's no reason why you couldn't get a legislation passed. And if you can't, then that's why the executive orders, and hopefully you can eventually convince them to get this passed if you were to take the majority come the midterms. We shall see how that goes. I'm not going to talk about whether or not that's going to happen until the day comes. Okay, guys, so long story short, an economy should reward investment, not punish people, not punish hardworking Americans. This is something that Americans really wanted. This is a part of the American dream. This is a no-brainer for me. I just feel like this is something that we can all get behind. I don't think that it's fair that Wall Street can just outbid everyday Americans who bust their behind and obviously cannot compete with their softwares, with their cash flows. They can't compete, and it's not fair to everyday hardworking Americans who say they want to own homes. Now, to be fair to the criticism, this does affect long-term investments in retirement accounts, but that just means we should be changing how that investment opportunity functions. Maybe invest in the building of our civilization, and based off of the building is how these accounts are going to earn. Okay. If you have to make money off of scarcity, that's exploitation. That's unethical. That's not what the founders intended. And so, if it means that accounts are going to take a hit to a degree, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I was willing to suffer whatever temporary consequences there were going to be from Trump's tariffs because I supported the tariffs. I'm willing to have my life insurance policy, because I'm someone who has one, take a hit if it means that people I know don't have to compete with housing, with Wall Street. Okay. I'm not in the position of buying a home. Like, I'm not there yet. I'm actually just focusing on getting stable at the moment. You guys know my story. I've talked about it. For those of you in moral finance, head over to the Pocket Politics channel, scroll to the beginning, and you'll see I was the adult toddler. So that was something to discuss. So I'm not really in that position. This is about trying to do what's right for my fellow Americans and wanting to support their position. Sorry, but I know way too many hardworking Americans who should not have to lose out opportunities to big money. I find Wall Street entirely contemptible in this regard. And their practice is unethical. And I'm sorry, not sorry, but I'm willing to have my life insurance policy take a hit if it means we are going to have some real fairness in this country when it comes to housing. We're supposed to be the land of the free, okay? And we believe in fairness. That's how this is supposed to be. And I don't think that this is what the founders had intended. I don't believe that they intended for everyday Americans to have to compete with big money. That's not what they thought. That's not what they wanted. And anybody who wants to defend that position, I think, should really rethink that position. And that's me putting it sweetly. So you guys let me know in the comment sections. Do you think that our investment system should change, maybe go towards, I don't know, innovating and building up civilization and not thriving off of scarcity and exploitation? That's one. And number two, like, how do you feel about, Trump wanting to ban this? Because frankly, I think it's a great idea. I know several people who would benefit from this decision, and I just find that that's a good thing. So get in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this. Of course, subscribe to the channel of Pocket Politics or Moral Finance if you haven't done that already. Hit the notification bell so that way you guys never miss an episode of Archie's Briefings on either channel. And of course, you guys get into the comments. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on these subject matters. I think it's a great idea. I think you think it's a great idea. But in case you don't think it's a good idea, get in the comments. Tell me why. Try to keep it respectable, okay? I love you guys. I will talk to you as soon as I possibly can. Love you. And of course, because it's me, guys, Kepler.